So, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1 is the first part of a two-part installment of the final Harry Potter film of the franchise, in which, as y'all can imagine, being adapted from Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, we once again follow Harry, Ron, and Hermione as they are on a race against time to find and destroy the Horcruxes, which are the objects that are keeping Lord Voldemort alive, and at the same time, they uncover and discover the most powerful objects in the wizarding world, the Deathly Hallows. Before I continue on with today's video, I just wanted to say welcome to my channel, everybody. For those of you who are coming by my channel for the very first time, be sure to hit the subscribe button to do not miss a future video, whether it's a future review, reaction, top 5, or whatever I have coming your way, and join me on my journey to 10K subscribers and beyond, because believe me when I say this, guys, you are not gonna want to miss the cool shit I have coming your way. And for those of you who are coming back to my channel, welcome back. You have no idea how happy I'm to see your faces once again. Also, let's start our conversation below. What do you think of the Deathly Hallows Part 1? Is this your favorite film of the franchise? Is this your least favorite film of the franchise? Let me know below. Alright guys, so let's get into Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1.
Excellent!
Guys, can you believe this? That we're already at the second to final review of the Harry Potter film franchise, at least for the mainline movies. I mean, it feels like that it was just yesterday when I released my review of Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. And guys, we're literally 1 month away from not only reviewing the final Harry Potter film, but also, after I reviewed Deathly Hallows Part 2, my ranking of the Harry Potter film franchise. Now, really quick, and I just realized, I keep saying this, but I really do have to say this once again. Before I continue on once again, thank you so much for joining me on my journey to reviewing and covering all the mainline Harry Potter films. I mean, rewatching and reviewing all the Harry Potter films, it's like I've been reliving my childhood going into my years before I graduated high school. But I know that quite a few of you have stuck around ever since I started reviewing the first Harry Potter film, and now we're coming on to the final 2 Harry Potter films, and your love and support from me reviewing all the Harry Potter films, the mainline ones, means everything to me. And guys, we're almost at the end of our journey, so really from the bottom of my heart, everybody, thank you all so much, as I not only put on my Hogwarts robe, which, by the way, for those of you wondering which house I'm in, that will be revealed at the beginning when I review Deathly Hallows Part 2. But anyways, let's get right on to it. Deathly Hallows Part 1, let's go. I have to do a story time for y'all because Deathly Hallows Part 1 has a very sentimental place in my heart, and that is because, believe it or not, guys, this movie was the very first midnight showing I ever went to. The Thursday midnight showing for Deathly Hallows Part 1 was one of the best movie-going experiences I ever had. It was my brother and myself. We sat there in our theater, not ready for the thriller that Deathly Hallows Part 1 was presenting to us. And I gotta tell you guys right now, can you all believe that Deathly Hallows Part 1 came out over 14 years ago? That is absolutely insane, just thinking that this movie is 14 years old. Oh my god. How do I feel about this movie on my latest rewatch 14 years later? This movie is a damn good setup to the epic finale that is Part 2 of Deathly Hallows. Daniel Radcliffe is still incredible as Harry Potter, Emma Watson as Hermione Granger, Rupert Grint as Ron Weasley. I mean, everybody in this movie is straight up fantastic. But here, guys, as y'all can imagine, for me at least, guys, the standouts of this movie are easily our trio: Daniel Radcliffe, Emma Watson, and Rupert Grint. Seeing how our main actors have evolved and aged, and how they've improved their acting abilities throughout the Harry Potter film franchise is just absolutely crazy. Out of the 3 of them, though, Rupert Grint has an incredible scene in this movie when, if you guys have seen the movie, you'll know what I'm talking about. Even though I might as well spoil it for you guys, so spoiler, I mean, if you haven't seen Deathly Hallows Part 1, or for that matter, and the Harry Potter films, please go do so, like, right now. It would make for one hell of a marathon. It's come to a point in this film where Ron has been wearing this particular Horcrux all day long, and you can see that it is really affecting him. And there is a great scene in this movie where Harry and Hermione are figuring something about how to destroy this particular Horcrux, and Ron comes in the room, sitting his frustrations, and he is just lashing out, and him just belting out how he feels. I mean, then again, he is definitely under the influence of the Horcrux, but nonetheless, Rupert Grint easily delivers, at least to my personal opinion, an incredible scene and one of my favorite sequences of the entire film in Deathly Hallows Part 1. Another thing that I gotta talk about is David Yates' directing. You can tell that David Yates, ever since he directed Order of the Phoenix, that he has really fine-tuned or started to fine-tune his skills as a director. This man shows so much confidence, especially knowing the way how he directs Deathly Hallows Part 1. Order of the Phoenix was definitely more of a political thriller. Half-Blood Prince is definitely more of a romantic comedy, but Deathly Hallows Part 1 is straight up a road psychological thriller, and man, David Yates directs the hell out of this movie. Especially, guys, in one particular sequence, which is, by the way, one of my favorite parts of the entire film, and that is where Harry, Ron, and Hermione infiltrate the Ministry of Magic after it's been taken over by the Death Eaters. And speaking of which, the film's action sequences are so good. Oh my god. By the way, my favorite set piece in the entire film, the opening set piece, is where some of the characters are disguising themselves as Harry, and not to mention as well, the score by Alexander Desplat in this scene. That score in this movie is bloody brilliant. The action sequences throughout Deathly Hallows Part 1 are so much fun to watch. They're thrilling, and knowing the stakes this time around, it only makes the action that much more thrilling. A particularly great action sequence is when Harry, Ron, and Hermione are found by the Snatchers, and not to mention as well, this particular scene, the camera work in the scene is thrilling as can be. And by the way, Eduardo Serra, which I do apologize if I butcher your name, Eduardo Serra's cinematography here. Something in particular, guys, that I absolutely love about Eduardo Serra's cinematography is that it makes this film feel grounded, especially not only with just the amount that the camera shakes. There's just something about the way that Eduardo Serra just handles the camera, especially during the action sequences. This film, out of all the Harry Potter films, I would say besides Prisoner of Azkaban and I would say Half-Blood Prince, that just might be the most realistically shot Harry Potter film, if that makes any sense. One of my favorite things about Deathly Hallows Part 1 is that this movie has beautiful, and I mean beautiful, character-driven moments, and there's already in my head 3 moments of this movie that I absolutely love. One of them being, and honest to God here, it still gives me chills and I still kind of get teary-eyed thinking about it. That is a sequence where after Ron has abandoned the group for now, Harry and Hermione are just hanging in their tent, and Hermione is obviously very depressed, especially knowing that she has the Horcrux on for the necklace, because that thing is just going to only make you think negative thoughts. Harry hears a tune on the radio, so he just with body language, and that's something I love about the scene. This particular sequence, guys, has no dialogue. This sequence is only driven by cinematography, the body language of the actors, and not to mention as well, the terrific song choice in the scene. This particular sequence where Harry and Hermione are dancing to just have some positivity in a world that is just full of so much darkness, war, and negativity, and how the sequence plays out, and seeing Harry and Hermione smile in the sequence, it's legitimately one of my favorite parts about the entire film. As a matter of fact, it just might be my favorite scene in the entire film. Another moment in particular that I love, and this is actually one of the funnier moments of the film, that's when Ron comes back, he helps Harry destroy the Horcrux, and Hermione's reaction. Oh my god, just play this clip really quick.
You show up here after weeks, and you say, hey? Where's my wand, Harry? Where's my wand?
I don't know.
Harry Potter, you give me my wand!
Guys, I will never forget when I saw this movie at the midnight Thursday night showing. Everybody was dying with laughter when Hermione says, "Where's my wand, Harry?" One of my other favorite scenes of Deathly Hallows Part 1 is when the Deathly Hallows are discovered and when they're brought up. And not to mention as well, the animation in this scene is so beautiful. Another part of this film that I absolutely love is when Harry and Hermione visit Godric's Hollow, which is Harry's birthplace, and they see the graves of Harry's parents. Just beautifully done. The directing, the actors, and overall the production design as well. This sequence is just just thinking about this scene. The first act of Deathly Hallows Part 1 is incredible. It is an absolutely brilliant opening act. The second act of this movie is essentially a road thriller, and there are some bits to which I'll get into a little bit that aren't as thrilling nor as interesting as the other bits, but man, once we get to that third act, the third act of Deathly Hallows Part 1 not only has some holy crap moments, but it also has one of the most heartbreaking scenes of the entire franchise, and once again, spoiler alerts. Poor Dobby. Dobby won out, not only like such a badass, especially knowing how he handled things, but you know what? Dobby, you will be missed. I fucking love you, man. And once again, I must praise this once again. The score by Alexander Desplat in this scene, just this one musical cue. Oh, brilliant! And also, one more thing that I must mention is the film's ending. How Deathly Hallows Part 1 sets up Part 2 with Voldemort grabbing the Elder Wand. I will never forget, once that shot cut to black, everybody in my auditorium just went, "Oh!"
Well, that's just fucking great!
As much as I enjoyed Deathly Hallows Part 1, this movie does have its fair share of issues. Once the film gets to its second act, aka the road thriller aspect, there are just some bits where it's not nearly as interesting as you think it is. But then again, guys, here's the thing. I have not read Deathly Hallows in a very long time, but from my memory, the book does have a lot of bits where they are just literally sitting around camping. While there are page turners in the book, in the film, honestly, there are just some bits where, yes, I mean, as part of the book, absolutely, but at the same time, there are just some bits where it just isn't as interesting. If I'm not mistaken, I believe Deathly Hallows Part 1 is like, what? It's a little over 2.5 hours. I want to say it's closer around 2 hours and 40 minutes. Part 1 is really laying a lot of groundwork so that Part 2 can succeed as an epic finale, but at the same time, guys, you just can't help feel, or I should say that I just couldn't help but feel that during the second act, there were just some bits that feel like they were just kind of filler-like elements, and sure, while those filler elements are definitely entertaining, absolutely, but at the same time, the filler elements can't but feel that just like, filler elements. This movie just can't but feel like a big, and I mean a big epic setup movie for what is to come. And even though, and don't get me wrong, you guys want to say this, Part 1 leaves you wanting so much more. I mean, it leaves you leaving a lot for Part 2. However, Part 1 is just basically a big, and I mean a big ass setup movie for, Part 2.
And here we go.
So overall, while I can't help but feel of it being, a setup movie due to it being a Part 1, at the same time, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1 does still nonetheless do a wonderful job of being a thrilling setup for what is going to be an epic finale of the Harry Potter film franchise. All in all, I'm gonna give Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1 a 4 out of 5. Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1 is a thrilling film, but most importantly, it does a great job setting up an epic conclusion. I hope you all enjoyed my review of Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1. If so, please hit the like button, or if you dislike the review, hit the dislike button. If you guys want to see my previous 2 reviews, please click right there or right there. And of course, until my next review or video goes live, I'll see you all next time.